Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate everybody being here in a timely fashion. I know it's early and everybody's having to swim pretty much to get through all this rain. But before we get started, we're going to ask Majority Leader Chuck F. Strachan to lead us in a word of prayer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you please pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to work together for the people of the state. Please help us as we work to legislate. Please let us remember to keep you first in our mind. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Chair Lady Camp.
Madam Chair, I bring to you today HB 814 LC 50072S, and this bill is one that discusses unanticipated funds, broadband equity access and deployment program, and also the American Rescue Plan. When the money is used for broadband throughout our state, oftentimes it's not the EMCs that are doing it. There are other companies do it that are liable to income tax. This bill will make it so they're not liable to income tax when these grants, federal grants, are used to deploy broadband throughout our state. And basically, for every $1 million grant, it will enable 3 more miles of road to be paved for the state not levying income tax.
Okay. Members of the committee, any questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Representative?
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I bring before you House Bill 995. It's on page 2, about midway down. This is the bill that was brought to us by our Georgia National Guard. It's simply to make the ASVAB, which is the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, more readily available in our public schools. There is no cost to the school system. The military bears all that cost, and it has the support of our Department of Education.
Okay, all right. Members of the committee, any questions? Seeing none, thank you, Representative.
Thank you.
Representative?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of committee. I bring before you House Bill 1020, Income Tax Credit Military Zone, Military Opportunity Zone. So it simply modifies the military zone to allow for businesses that are not on publicly owned land to utilize that military opportunity job tax credit.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Representative. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Representative?
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee. I've got House Bill 974. It's a sub, LC 472809S. And what the bill does is requires the Secretary of State to create and maintain a statewide program for the posting of digital images of ballots. This has already been proven with the pilot program. This simply makes it a permanent program, and it does address the image resolution requirement of being no less than 200 dots per inch for ballots. However, on the absentee ballots, it's asking, the bill requires that the resolution be as high as the voting system allows.
Okay. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Representative?
Thank you. I bring House Bill 1018. It's on the second page, about halfway down, otherwise known as the Georgia Firearms Industry Non-Discrimination Act. And what this bill does is it makes it unlawful for financial institutes to discriminate against any firearm merchants through what they call the merchant category code number. And this has actually been done by a foreign entity, so this is a good bill for national protection.
Okay, all right. Any questions? Minority Whip Park.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Ridley, I read through your bill. I was surprised. Could you help me understand how widespread these sorts of discriminatory practices are from our financial institutions against gun manufacturers? So
if you'll look on page 2, on line 38 there, where it come up with the merchant category code 5723. That's an actual code that they come up with. and started actually placing it on any firearm merchant where you go and buy anything firearm related. Now, there was some talk about it, and they did discontinue using it at this time, but what we're saying is in this state that you cannot use it to just track that. So basically what it's doing is making a registry, and you're letting a foreign country be able to do that. So that's what's going on. And I think California actually passed the law that whether you have to use it there. So it's coming, and this right here is just to protect that and to protect your privacy.
All right.
Okay, all right, thank you. No further questions. Thank you, Representative. Representative?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, I'm here today to present House Bill 1031 on the blue sheet. It's next to last on page 3. This bill comes from some of the work we did with an ad hoc ad valorem tax study committee last summer. It has several items in it. The high points are that it requires that it requires a publication of the rollback to match the increased revenue that comes from a reassessment. Also requires that property be reassessed every 3 years. It also has a very good statement in it that was put in by one of the subcommittee members, and I like this a lot. The adopted millage rate exceeds the estimated rollback as stated in the annual notice of assessment that you previously received for this taxable year, which will result in an increase in the amount of property tax that you will owe. One of the things we're trying to do with this bill is make it a lot more transparent to the taxpayers so they don't feel like they're being assaulted always with reassessments. The last thing it does is based on work with the ACCG and the Board of Tax Assessors and the Department of Revenue, which changes the way appeals are done and makes the process for appealing the digest work more efficiently. And that is the high points of the bill. Last thing was put in full committee. It requires that if the school board increases the taxes, that has to be disclosed in the bill. And so that protects the county commissioners from being assaulted when the school board actually raises taxes. And I'm sorry it takes so long, Madam Chair, but that is the bill, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, all right, you do have a couple of questions. Representative Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the gentleman, certainly I like the ad valorem tax bill that you're introducing. My question is there any place in there that addresses or possibly will address millage? My problem is not ad valorem tax, it's millage. Millage is what people are having a real problem with. They don't want the ad valorem tax, just eat you alive with the millage.
Well, thank you so much for that question, Representative. I have thought that for a long time. The average citizen has no idea what a millage rate is. Many of us know that it is 1/10 of 1%. I have long advocated we should do away with the millage rate and have a pure percentage. I also have thought we should let that be at 100% instead of 40%, because all that is confusing. However, that is not addressed in this bill, but thank you very much for the question.
Okay, all right, Representative Williamson.
Thank you, Chairman. To the author of the bill, thank you for bringing this good measure. I know that currently in law, if a property owner makes an appeals their assessment, even if he or she or the value is not changed, it freezes that valuation for 3 years. Did we fix that problem? That if it is that going to remain the case, or did we fix the problem of people gaming the system by filing hundreds of appeals and freezing their valuations for 3 years, even though no valuation changed?
Yes, that was one of the items that the Association of County Commissioners wanted us to address, and the bill does.
It is in the bill.
That is correct, I believe, Mr. Chairman. This was a group effort with the subcommittee. We did put that in finally, I believe.
Representative Blackman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to clarify that it's kind of done in a taxpayer-friendly manner, but yes, if the Equalization Board does not find any change warranted, that lock is dropped. Otherwise, they do retain the lock.
Okay, all right. No further questions? Thank you.
Thank you,
Representative. All right, members of the committee, if you have a bill that you would like to present, please, 31. Number 31? I think that's you, Representative Knight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 1162, this is the annual IRC update bill. Quite frankly, as long as I've been doing it here, this is quite frankly the simplest because Congress has made no changes to the tax code. If you'll look at the bill, it is simply changing the dates to reflect the advancement into the tax year for beginning January 1, 23. So that's the bill. Should Congress move and do something from a tax perspective, we do have a vehicle, HB 1163, prepared such that if Congress does make any tax changes and we're still here, we have a vehicle that's still out there that we can use to reflect any changes.
Okay, all right. Any questions, raise your hand. Seeing none, thank you, Representative. Representative Blackman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On page 2, just shy of midway down, HB 991 is the provider fee sunset extension, department bill, Department of Community Health, and see how we draw down our Medicaid dollars from the federal government.
Okay, all right. Any questions? Raise your hand. Seeing none, thank you. Representative Martin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have House Resolution 804. This is a constitutional amendment. This is allowing for tax anticipation notes to be repaid over a 12-month period rather than by December 31st each year. Real quick explanation of why that is necessary. Some counties don't get their tax bills out till later in the fall, October, November. It puts particularly school boards in a bind where a large percentage of their dollars come from ad valorem tax, and the taxes aren't due until after the first of the year. So getting a tax anticipation loan that has to be paid for before the taxes come in doesn't really accomplish the task. So we had been asked to essentially allow that for a 12-month period rather than an arbitrary December 31st. They can't borrow any more than they can now. They still have to pay it back and can't get another loan until the original one is paid off. But we do that. It's in the unlikely occurrence that you have sort of several things happen at once, a lower tax digest, late tax bills, recessionary times. We don't want to leave our school systems in a bind when they're trying to cross that December 31st threshold. Haven't had any negative comments. This would apply to all political subdivisions in the state, so it would be counties, school boards, or cities could use this as the new tax anticipation note repayment schedule.
Okay, all right. Any questions? Please raise your hand. Seeing none, thank you, Representative Martin. Representative Hawkins.
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'd like to speak back to House Bill 872, primarily because the header is not very descriptive of what this bill really addresses. Spring and summer, I met with Chet Passon, who is the director of the Georgia Health Workforce Board, and we've been looking at the numbers of dentists and physicians going back into rural areas, and frankly, what we're doing is not working. The dentists are going back, apparently, it appears, to join their parents in Uncle Henry and that kind of thing. These kids are coming out with $200,000 loans. What this bill does is it tells a senior that he's been accepted, so he knows he's getting the loan before he goes. He doesn't get the money until he gets there. And then number two, it tells him he can get it for 4 years. That's $100,000. We may get him to stay when they get there.
Okay, all right. Any questions? Raise your hand. Seeing none, thank you, Representative. Representative.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm here to present House Bill 1039. It's on the second page, about 3/4 of the way down. As many of you know in this room, how we access our news and our political advertising has changed. Gone are the days where we see ads on TV. Folks are getting it on the on social media and the internet now, and so What House Bill 1033 does is it helps close a loophole on campaign disclosure. So if you pay a social media content creator campaign funds, they must disclose that in the post. So as a campaign, if I pay someone to put up a post for me, that post has to maintain either written or verbally a disclosure. This was paid for by the campaign to elect Scott Hilton.
Okay, all right. Minority Leader, you have a question?
I do. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. To the author, who's responsible for making sure that this happens? So is it the ethics department? Who's responsible for the disclosure and then holding the person accountable for doing this? Great
question. So either a member of the public or an opposing campaign would report the violation to ethics, and it would then go through the normal route. So what would happen is you would see in someone's disclosure they paid a social media influencer or a management company. Then you would have the actual advertisement itself that didn't include the disclaimer. You'd have to present that to ethics, and then they would follow the normal chain of events from there.
Okay, all right, thank you. Representative Cooper?
Thank you very much. I thought that years ago there was some question, and we took off having to put who paid for something off of everything. Does this conflict with that law and how that decision was made?
That's a great point. So it is, you are correct. And we thought about closing that loophole. Right now, if you and I send a mailer, we don't need to include on there. I believe PACs and IEs are required to do that in the state. So actually, we are the only ones that don't need to put paid for by on our advertising. And I would be happy to hear an amendment if that's something we'd want to add. Again, I think all of us would believe in full disclosure to our constituents and voters is a good thing.
I'm not opposed to it, but I just remembered that we went through a whole big issue of discussing that and doing that.
Especially nowadays, and I know several of my colleagues have AI and deepfake. With social media, people who are scrolling through, we want to make sure that they know what they're seeing, and if it's paid for advertisement from a campaign, that ought to be disclosed. Yes,
One
ma'am.
more question, if I
Sure.
But if a campaign volunteer is putting things out, or they still needs to be done?
Nope,
No.
that's fine.
Okay, if they're posting pictures or comments or things.
Yeah. If the campaign pays someone to post an advertisement for them, that must be disclosed.
Okay, all right. Representative Taylor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to make sure, if I ask you, or if you say I'm going to endorse you, and I use that, what if I give you a donation to your campaign? Could that be seen as a quid pro quo? That was a concern I had. I make donations to other members.
Yeah, we had a good bit of discussion of this in committee, and we sort of fell on, and we had Director Motti there, and it was his opinion that that would not violate the intent of what we're trying to accomplish here. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Minority Whip Park?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Would the definition of social media personality include, for example, a Fox News host or a radio personality?
Yes.
And if I'm looking at line 15 of this bill, it says in return for monetary or non-monetary remuneration. So can you clarify whether or not this is just if that social media personality is paid something, or if they still have to be disclosed for, like, what constitutes non-monetary remuneration under this bill?
So the person reporting the ethics violation would have to prove that there was some sort of exchange of either monetary or some sort of non-monetary goods. So the onus is on the person bringing the ethics complaint to show that there's something of value given to that person to make that post. Non-monetary could be a number of things. But again, intentionally sort of difficult to prove, so we don't have folks out there, reporting all types of violations.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Representative Newton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this bill really only affects entities or people who show up on a campaign report for somebody running for office. Is that right? If it doesn't show up on your campaign disclosure, this bill has nothing to do with them.
Yeah, I mean, if you're running your campaign the right way and you've paid someone, that should show up on your disclosure.
Right, yeah. If you're following the rules as a campaign and you've paid someone, you're supposed to report that you spent campaign money, and that's the only people this affects, not volunteers, not anybody that doesn't show up on your expenditure side for the campaign. Right?
Correct, correct.
Okay,
If I paid Taylor Swift $10,000 to create a post about me,
Try again.
she would need to disclose that in her post. I think Scott's a great candidate.
Paid for by Scott Hilton.
Paid for by Scott Hilton, yes.
Okay, all right. Representative Martin.
Isn't it true that the gentleman meant to say if he paid Nicole Hardeman to work on his campaign?
Yeah.
All right. Seeing no further questions. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you.
Representative Reeves.
Chairwoman Ballinger, members of the committee, I respectfully request House Bill 628 to be recommitted to House Judiciary. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Secretary Jaspers.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Since we were in traffic, all of us this morning, I bring House Bill 617. This addresses all issues around freight and logistics funding. It's a culmination of 3 to 5 years' work. It codifies the freight plan that was released 2 weeks ago, directing planning in 2020 and for 2050. It's a cooperative work between GDOT and the State Planning Director and the House and Senate.
Okay. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you. All right, so we are going to set the rules calendar for Tuesday. We have House Bill 873. Is there a move? There's a move in several seconds. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? It's on. House Bill 909. Is there a move? There's a move in several seconds. Is there, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed, like sign. It's on. House Bill 1010. Is there a move? Several moves in a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? It's on. House Bill 1083. There's a move in several seconds. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? It's on. House Resolution 804. There's a move in several seconds. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? It's on. Under structured rule, House Bill 1162. Is there a move? There's a move and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed, like sign. It's on. House Bill 628. There's a move to go send that back to committee. Is there a move? In several seconds. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed, like sign. And Whip Burchett, I'm going to recognize you for a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I'm going to make a motion that we limit debate on House Bill 977 to 1 hour pursuant to House Rule 33.3, at which time will be allocated by the Speaker.
Okay, there's a move to limit debate on House Bill 977. Is there a second? There's several seconds. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Okay, debate is hereby limited to 1 hour, time to be allocated at the discretion of the chair on today's calendar. So just to run back through those right quick to make sure everybody is on the same page. Rules calendar for tomorrow, February 13th, 2024, under modified structure. House Bill 873, House Bill 909, House Bill 1010, House Bill 1083, House Resolution 804, and under structured House Bill 1162. House Bill 628 has gone back to the Judiciary Committee, and on today's rules calendar, House Bill 977, debate has been limited to 1 hour to be allocated at the discretion of the chair. Seeing no further business before the committee, we are hereby adjourned.